Today, please follow me to make this 4-year-old boy cheongsam step by step. At first, please print the pattern out on A4 size paper. It's very important to not scale the document. Your pattern will print on multiple pages, which you will then tie together. And then arrange the sheets on a large, hard and flat surface, matching up these papers in order. You just cut the pattern out of the paper along with the seam line. Please remember, in my shop, all the pattern has seam and hem allowance. So you cut the pattern along with the outer line. Okay, and when you cut it down, then you match the edges to its corresponding side. Then tap down in place so paper is secure. Okay, there is one more thing. When you print out this pattern, you can measure the test square to tell if you print this pattern right or wrong. This square is 3 centimeters, so you measure it to tell if you print this pattern right. Okay. 今天我们来做这个4岁男童的唐装，也就是中式男装。这个是我做的是同款，4岁男童的同款。那么首先你要把这个纸样全部打印出来，那就是直接打印就可以了。首先在我的那个页面上面有提示，你打印的时候，第一个不要缩放，或者是你把缩放比例定为100%。然后第二个就是这个不要去掉边框，保留它的边框。就是反正一般按照默认来打印就可以，除非有些时候你发现它有自动旋转纸样，那就是自动旋转文件打印，这个你要去掉，因为你要保持竖版打印。然后打印出来之后，一般在头2页你就会看到有一个方框在这个纸样上面写的是打印测试框。那这个测试框有些是2厘米，有些是3厘米，那这框里面都会标注清楚的。你打印出来之后呢，就是你可以先打印这个有这个框的这一页，打印出来之后，你拿尺子量一下它的边长是不是按照这个测试框上面写的是3厘米或者是2厘米啊？我们这个纸样的话呢是3厘米，是不是3厘米？如果3厘米，那你打样就对的。那么接下来拼接就是你按照这个我的店里所有的那个纸样都是加了缝缝的，特别是唐装旗袍这个缝缝我都是加好了的。有些特别款式是不加的，因为如果你是做香滚的话，那就是要用净量。那么这一款是那个就是都已经，因为我要做内衬嘛，所以说就会用比较干净的这个收边的方法，所以说把那个缝缝全部都加好的，那你就是沿外圈缝缝剪下。还有这个打印偏框也要去除的啊，就是你不要留剪的时候留一条边框在那里，就是按照这个最外圈每一个纸样每一个部件的最外圈的这个缝缝的这个框把它剪下来，然后再拼接到一起就可以了。好了，这里是所有需要用表布剪裁的部件。我已经先把这个，我要做的，我给我儿子做呢，那我想做红色的表布和白色的内衬，浅色的内衬布，然后表布反面相对折叠过来，这边是折边。那么现在是这上面铺的所有的纸样就是需要剪裁用表布来剪裁的。那么这是后片，沿这个边缘部分剪裁2片。这是前片，也是沿边缘剪裁2片，然后这是小袖，这是大袖，这个是挂面，这个是前襟贴开襟门襟的垫底，这个是 内带的这个贴边，这个是贴带，这个是立领。Okay, and there are all the parts we need to cut in main fabric. And at first, I fold the fabric, the main fabric, wrong side facing wrong side. Then I place these patterns onto the fabric. And this is the back, this is the front, this is downside sleeve, this is upside sleeve, this is facing, front facing, and this is self-faced band, and this is pocket, this is the facing of the pocket, this is corner. So cut one pair of the back, one pair of the front, one pair of the downside sleeves, and one pair of the upper side sleeves, one pair of the facing, front facing, and we cut this self-face band, align the pattern with the fold line of the fabric, and cut one of it. Okay, and cut one pair of this pocket facing, one pair of this pocket, and one pair of the corner. And you can choose to cut one piece of the collar in main fabric, and the inside corner using the lining. It's a choice. 好，现在我们裁剪这个里布，里布跟那个表布一样呢，也是反面相对，先把布料对折，然后现在这是所有里布的这个纸样都已经排列好了，大家可以比照我的这个来排，也可以自己排啊。那首先就是要剪，这个是前片，前片因为有个挂面嘛，所以是前片的侧边部分，剪一对啊。是因为折叠的上下面剪一对，然后小袖里布剪一对，大袖里布剪一对，后片里布剪一对，这个是口袋的里布一对。Okay, we cut the lining, and these 5 patterns are the patterns for lining, and we fold the lining fabric wrong side facing wrong side, and cut each one for one pair. Okay, this is side front lining, cut one pair. This is downside sleeve lining, cut one pair. And this is upside sleeve lining, one pair. And this is back lining, one pair. And this is pocket lining, one pair. 好，首先呢，我们就是要把，首先我们做这个贴带，这是贴带的面部，这是贴带的这个里部。OK， 现在它们都是正面向上的，那么我们先把里部缝合，正面对正面，里部缝合，缝合两头，中间留3到4厘米的。这个开口，待会儿在和这个口袋的面部缝合之后，要把它翻出来。Okay, we make the pocket first, and these two are the main fabric of the pocket. These 2 pair is the lining of the pocket, and this is upside, this is downside. Okay, they are both right side up. And flip it over, align with the seam, and stitch them together, and leave 3 or 4 centimeter open, so that we can, so that when we sewing them together, we can flip the right side out. 好了，我们已经把这个贴带的这个内衬缝合在一起，并且留了3到4厘米的开口，然后把这个接缝处的这个分缝烫开，大家可以看一下啊， 接缝处的缝缝当开，待会儿就可以把这个内袋从里面翻出来。OK， 好，这里可以看到这里是流出来的。So we stitch the lining of the pocket together and leave 3 centimeter open at the seam, and press the seam down, and then we move on to the next step. So we put the lining right side, facing right side to the pocket, to the main fabric of the pocket, and sewing a circle on the outside. Stitch them together. Okay, this one is also stitch them together. 好了，我们已经把这个口袋的这个四周全部都给它缝好。缝好了之后，然后从这个中间的留开的这个口子，然后把这个这个口袋袋部的正面全部翻出来，并且熨烫平整。可以看到就是现在这个样子的了。OK， 然后我们根据纸样，就是前片的表布的纸样上面有画这个口袋的位置。那么我们在剪裁布料的时候呢，然后在这个布料上要根据那个口袋的位置打好这个标记啊，做好这个口袋的标记，然后再把这个口袋放上去，对齐这个标记，然后沿最边缘部分0.1厘米的地方明缝一圈啊，这个口袋就缝上去了。然后就先把口袋缝在这个前片的表布上面。So we finish the pocket, and we flip the right side out from the open we left in advance, and this is the pocket when we flip it out and press the seam allowance nicely. Okay, after we're doing this, we put the pocket onto the main fabric of the front, and according to the front pattern, and we mark the position of the pocket on the main fabric of the front. Then we put the pocket onto the front according to the mark we made before, and stitch the pocket onto the front main fabric. 好，接下来我们制作的就是先急缝这个里襟，然后把这个挂面和前片里部急缝在一起。那注意对齐这个剪口，首先就是挂面和里部的正面相对，然后沿边缘车缝一圈，然后缝缝导向是这个导向侧前面片这个方向。然后这个里襟呢，就是两头，首先这个里襟是折叠过来，正中折叠过来，然后两头各急缝1道线，然后再把它翻出熨烫平整。Now we stitch the front facing into the front lining, and put the fabric right side facing right side. Please remember, align the notch and stitch from top to the end, and press the seam to the front side. Okay, and this is self-faced band. Stitch here, then flip it over and iron it down. Okay. 好，这个前片的里部和里襟我们已经缝纫好了。这个是正面看，这个是反面看。你看啊，这个缝缝是导向侧前片里部的，然后里襟也翻过来，并且熨烫平整了。Okay, this is the finished front lining. You can see the seam is pressing down to the direction of the side side front lining. Okay, and this is the finished self-faced band. Okay. 好，下一步呢，我们来就是急缝这个里部的后片和面部的后片的中缝，中缝，把它就是正面相对急缝起，急缝好。Okay, the next step is to stitch the back in main fabric and in lining. Okay, stitch them together with the central back line. 好了，现在我们可以看到这个后片已经在这个后中心线急缝完毕。那么面部呢是分烫缝缝，后片这个里部呢缝缝放倒一边就可以了。然后so here is the back. We could see we press the seam allowance open on the main fabric and just press down the seam allowance at the lining part. OK, 接下来呢，我们就是要急缝这个面部和里部的侧缝。首先我们看面部啊。是反面，那急缝呢，就是从这个袖笼的底点一直急缝到这个开叉的这个指点，这里一直急缝到这里，然后呢要把这个缝缝分烫开，包括这个下面开叉部分的缝缝也是要向下烫倒来做的。OK， 里部也是一样，里部的这个缝缝就不要分烫开了，里部的缝缝就是给它朝后背中心线烫倒就可以了。So next step is to stitch the side seam of main fabric and the lining part, and we just simply sewing the side seam from bottom of the armhole to the end of the slit here. Okay, and press the seam allowance open. When you stitch the lining part, you just press the seam allowance to the direction of back central line. Okay, stitch here to here. The lining part and press the seam to the wrong side of the lining. Simply press them down. OK. 好，我们把这个表部和里部的侧缝都已经急缝好了，大家可以看一下啊，这两边侧缝急缝好。这是面部侧缝急缝好，然后摆叉的这个流出来的这个叉摆的这个部分，也要把它翻烫过来压平。Okay, here is main fabric at the wrong side up, and you can see we press the seam allowance open, and this is a slit. We press the slit open also, and here is the lining part. Okay, we also sewing the side seam and press the seam allowance to the direction of central back line, and press down the seam allowance of here, the slit, and at the corner you cut it open to make it flat. Don't forget to leave 10 centimeter cement the side seam in the lining part, so that when we finish the sewing, the last step we could flip the right side over through this hole. Okay. 这个里部的侧缝急缝呢，有一点就是要注意，就是在这个右下呢、左下呢也可以，就是右边的侧缝你要留一个10厘米的反口出来，不要缝在一起。最后我们把那个正面翻出来之后，再用那个手针把它缝上去。然后这个里部的缝缝的熨烫呢，就是朝后中线。熨烫平就行了，然后它的插摆的部分也是，把这个缝缝熨倒即可。那拐弯的地方要打个剪口。OK。然后下面一个步骤呢，就是我们要做这个摆叉。摆叉呢，我们需要把这个表布的底边的缝缝也要向上熨烫、扣烫好，底边扣烫好出来。然后呢，扣烫好了之后，这个转角的地方呢，你可以把它做成就是对角线的，也可以把它就是做成平的，但是用手针要把它熨服啊。然后这个里部的部分也是这个底边的缝缝也要熨烫上去。OK， 分别把里部和表部的底边的缝缝都缝上去。那这个里部的缝缝是1厘米，表部的缝缝是3厘米底边。然后把这个叉脚的地方一定要给它理平整对齐。OK， 这样熨烫出来，找到它的对称线了之后。布料是反面相对，然后用手针、操针把它们给缝合起来，把叉脚做来缝合起来。Okay, the next step is to making the slit. Press the hem allowance down, and both main fabric and the lining, and when you're dealing with the corner of the slit, okay, there is a lot of way to do this corner. You could make like this, or you could just like this. It's a square. Okay, and put the lining and the main fabric wrong side facing wrong side, and sewing the slits together along with the crease line. Okay. 好了，我们现在已经把这个摆叉和底边已经把它缝好了。大家在缝这个直角边啊的时候，还有这个摆叉的转角处的时候，记得打剪口。还有缝直角边怎么缝，有不同的流派，但是一般来说做旗袍的时候都采取的对角线缝。那么这个你可以自己选择，但是总归一个要求就是要做到平整。那我们把摆叉做好，把底边正面和反面的底边也都全部给它缝好了。你可以看好，底边已经缝好了，然后熨烫平整。接下来就是把前片和就是里部和表部的尖缝要进行急缝缝合，那么分别急缝即可。OK， 那么里部和表部分别都是正面相对急缝尖缝，然后再分烫缝缝。Okay, now we finish the slit and stitch the main fabric and the linings together at the hemline. And now the next step, we should stitch the shoulder line both in lining and in main fabric together. Okay, put the lining from right side facing right side and stitch the shoulder line and press the seam open. And the same we will stitch the main fabric's shoulder line together, right side facing right side, and align the shoulder line together, stitch them, and press the seam down, press the seam open. Okay. 大家可以看到这个尖缝已经合好了，并且分趟开了。Okay, we finish stitch the shoulder line together, both main fabric and lining, and now we move on to making the Mandarin collar. Press the fusible lining to the wrong side of the under collar. Make the fabric wrong side facing right side facing right side, and stitch these three sides. 好，接下来我们就是做这个立领。立领呢，在领面的部分，我们敷上热熔衬，然后把它两块领片正面相对，外缘的三边缝合，然后并翻折过来熨烫平整。好了，这个立领我们已经缝好，并且翻过来熨烫好了，然后就把它夹在这个，让这个领口表部和里部的衣片呢
正面相对，反面朝外，
把它这样开口向上，这个开口的地方和这个领部，表部和领部的这个后中线对齐，然后用珠针固定一圈，固定到最开头，然后再缝纫一圈就可以了。Okay, we finish to making the Mandarin collar, and flip the right side out and press it down, and install it into the neckline, and put it between the main fabric and the lining, and make the main fabric and the lining right side facing right side, and align the notch on the corner and to the back center line, both lining and the main fabric of the back, and pin it in place and sew it along the neckline. 好了，这个立领我们已经装好了 ，and we install the Mandarin collar already. And now we install the self waistband to the right side of the front, and we just make the wrong side out, and we put the self waistband between the lining and the main fabric, and stitch it along to the notches, which is the end of the self waistband. Here is a notch. Okay, then we flip it right side out, and the other side of the front we just stitch them together from top to the end. 然后我们就是上这个里襟是装在右片的，我们把这个里部再翻出来，就是让表部和里部正面相对，然后把这个里襟夹在这个表部和里部的中间。注意这个里襟是装在右边的，然后从这个 领口部分，一直到这边有根据不一样纸样是有一个剪口的，然后对齐之后按缝缝把它缝好了再翻过来，然后同样这边也是，这边没有这边不装礼金就直接从领口一直缝到底部底边，然后我们把它翻着过来，下一步呢就是装领。Okay, the then after we finish install the self-fixed band, then we will make the sleeves and install it. 好，大家可以看到这个前襟已经装好了。OK， OK， we have installed the self-fixed band correctly and stitch front center line, and now we making the sleeves and install the sleeves. Okay. This is upper side sleeve, and this is downside sleeve. Okay. We made them right side facing right side. Make sure the notch is aligned in place, and stitch the side seam of the sleeves. Okay, the same way we making the lining part, lining sleeves. Okay, right side facing right side, and stitch the side seam. Okay, and when you stitch them together, and you should press open the seam allowance. 接下来我们装绣，那就是大绣片放下，小绣片放在上面，然后这个里部和表部都是一样的啊。然后就是让绣片的正面相对，把两边的这个绣侧缝给缝合起来，注意对齐这个剪口，然后缝合之后把这个侧缝线分烫开，然后我们再进行下一步。好了，现在袖子我们已经把两边的侧缝都缝好了，然后并且把这个底边的这个缝缝也先扣烫进去，侧缝也分缝烫好了。那接下来就是把里袖对应的袖的里部和表部，那么套在一起，急缝袖口一圈。那是正面相对，两个袖子都是正面相对。把这个缝缝先折烫好的缝缝先翻出来，主要是要有一个那个。把里部把表部套在里部中间，然后让它们两个都是正面相对啊。然后对齐一下，各自的缝缝要先对齐一下，千万不要缝领了。然后呢，就是沿这个缝缝先缝一圈，1厘米的缝缝先缝一圈，沿着这个一圈先急缝。Okay, we put the sleeve right side up. Right side out, and insert into the lining sleeve, which is wrong side out. Then make them right side facing right side, and stitch around it. 好了，这个里袖和外袖已经缝上了，然后这里是我们之前熨烫的它这个缝缝的这个烫剂，那我们根据这个缝缝的烫剂把它叠起来，然后再把这个里袖翻到它的里面去。 Okay, this is the crease line of the main fabric. Okay, after we stitch the cuff, then we flip it out and make the sleeve round side facing round side along with this crease line, which we iron it down before. Okay. 好，袖子就做好了。可以翻开看一下袖口，有一点是这个之前的缝的设计多出来的这个缝缝。然后呢，大家就是要用这个订针翻过来，在里面要做一些固定。就是在反面的时候做一些固定，固定针用长针缝做就行了。然后主要是这个线跟线之间要让它走位了。OK， 好了，袖子做好了，然后接下来就是装袖。好，我们现在制作这个直纽条，首先就是用你想要的那个布料，最好就是跟表布同色的啦，当然也有做撞色的。那在这里我就是用同色的，就是先裁那个斜布条，布纹是斜的，斜纹的布条裁30厘米长、2厘米宽的这个斜布条，先裁这个，我这个款式用的是6对这个盘扣，那么就是12根30厘米长、2厘米宽的这个斜布条，然后呢把它扣烫，相当于是扣烫中间要稍微留一点，每边大概扣烫0.3、0.4厘米的样子，然后扣烫出来了之后，用这个细绳包在这个扣烫好的布条里面，把它包起来。可以先包起来。包起来了之后呢，从头上这样，先把针头埋过去。OK， 好。从下往上进针。We're making the Chinese frogs right now. We cut 12 rectangle fabric to making the Chinese frogs. This rectangle is you can choose whatever the fabric you like, whatever the color to match your main fabric. And it's the rectangle is 30 centimeter long and 2 centimeter wide. Okay, then we press it down like this, and we put a string into the band and sew it to make the frogs. 好，我们现在来做这个盘扣，做简单的这个直扣葡萄扣啊，可以自己看一下，这是30厘米长的。Okay, now we making the Chinese frog. This is the string. I've already sewing the fabric onto this string. So let's do it. 埋在下面一点。好。长出来的这个从下面绕过来，接的地方，然后从左边穿进去。 这个圈，再拿一拿 ，OK， 然后拿第一个拿出的，然后再把这个结理松一点，把另外一边拿出去。蜻蜓壳要把它做得圆一点，一下。OK， 再试一个。然后那个，这是扭头啊，另外一半的那个扭条就是直接这样弯缝了，这样。好，到这里我们这个男童的唐装就制作完毕了。最后的步骤就是做这个葡萄扣，然后上扭头和扭盼。那这个如何盘扭头扭盼呢？这个网上有很多教程，大家都可以去搜索一下就知道了。就是上的时候一定是注意就是一定要上的平整啊。The frog's head sewed to the coat. We've already finished this kids 冲三。